If we weren't sitting here on this podcast and we're just sitting here talking about this and I'm saying, Ryan, I want to make sure that I have an internal audit. I want to catch my ego when it is creeping up. What are some things you would teach me?
Yeah, I wish I had a magical checklist, but it's more just sort of ideas. And I think why we look at stories from history is we go, oh,
it's the pattern recognition of
being a little bit like this person here, being a little bit like this person here. I think when you feel like it all rests and falls on you, you know what I mean? Like when you're Atlas with the world on your shoulders, you have profoundly inflated your importance in whatever situation you're in. So that it's like when you feel that like Herculean, I'm the one, like that is ego, right? The other one is like when you feel paranoia, like people are out to get me, they're fucking me, they're screwing me over, I'm being held back. I usually find that's ego. Colin Powell talks about like, making sure your ego is not associated with your position, right? So it's like when your identity and worth as a human being is tied up in what you have or what you've done, and this is where the story you're telling yourself can be so dangerous. When you have really started to identify with what you've accomplished, when you're like, I've hit this bestseller list, my podcast has this many downloads, I'm the best in the world at X. When you have really locked in these sort of arbitrary ratings or rankings or status, to me that's ego, because now you're not present. You're thinking about how do you maintain and control and get these things. The last one I would probably say is when you are comparing yourself to other people. So like if you're comparing yourself against other people versus comparing yourself against your intention or your own standards, also probably a decent sign of ego.
Those are actually really great. One I might add to it that I find myself having to check is when I'm more interested in being right than knowing what the truth is, which I find can happen in the stupidest example. Like literally an argument with my wife could easily, if I'm going to be brutally honest, turn into, wait, stop for a second, Peter. This is an internal dialogue. You're arguing with her, and because you're a better arguer, you can probably look like you are right here. Sure. There are 5 other ways that this could be viewed. If you're really being brutally honest, you should be stepping out of yourself and seeing them all of these other ways. That's a loving example because it's with a person you care about. Where you really see it, I think, is when you're having a debate with someone like you don't care about, like someone on Twitter,
yes,
right? Like some random person on Twitter attacks you. For me, at least, that's very powerful. And that's certainly where I catch my ego the most.
Right, because what you're doing is you're associating your identity with a totally meaningless encounter or situation, and you're like, I can't let this person be better than me. Where my identity is that I'm the best, I win, I'm right, not I just want to know what is true or real, or I want to have a conversation with this person. So yeah, I think that's ultimately why ego is so dangerous, is that it just sucks us into bullshit that we don't need to be doing, whether they're competitions or they're arguments or they're, I think that the sort of rise and fall of WeWork is such a great example of someone who's just like, what happens when ego is just utterly unchecked, and how it served him well up until the point it all came. There's a joke about gangsters that like everything is wonderful until the last 15 minutes, and then it's brutal and violent and pathetic, and I think that tends to be, it often goes much longer than anyone thought. And then when it crumbles very quickly. Not only there's nothing left, but there's not a lot of mercy from other people.